This podcast is brought to you by Contessa Digital.
Hey love, welcome to Confidently Cherished. And did I ever tell you about the time that I broke my own heart? So I'm recording this the week of Valentine's Day. And as I was thinking and reflecting on my past relationships, my relationship history with my husband and the lessons I've learned, I was also scrolling through social media and I was seeing a lot of posts about people wanting to be with someone who is actually available for a relationship, who is single, who is emotionally available, who is ready to be in a relationship. And I started to think about my first adult relationship, right? The first really serious relationship that I was in. And in the end, I ended that relationship. So I was the one who initiated the breakup. But when it ended, I remember being so upset about it and feeling so heartbroken because I thought that this man was a really nice guy. And I thought he was someone that I could have a future with. But he clearly was not available to be in a serious relationship with me. And I remember being really upset about it at the time until, of course, with some wisdom and maturity and a little bit more life experience, I realized that it wasn't just him. I realized that I also was emotionally unavailable at that time. And that's why we were so attracted to each other. We met each other in that same spot, in that same condition, not really being in a place where either of us could be a great partner. For him, he had been in another relationship. He'd had his heart broken in that relationship and he was trying to move on, but he definitely was not there at the time that I met him. So, he was dealing with the fact that he may have been in a relationship with me, but he still had all these feelings for someone else. And he hadn't done the work really to heal from that relationship. And in my case, when I met him, he was in a transition too, really, but I was also in a transition in my life. There had been just a lot of different things in my life that changed at the time. And I was adjusting to all of those things and adjusting to, being an actual adult. And there really was just too much going on for me to really focus on dating. Like my head was not in that space. So, I think about that and I see all these posts about people wanting someone who is emotionally available to be in a relationship. And I can often spot that these people themselves are not in a place to be in a relationship. So with that in mind, I am going to keep this episode short, but I want to give you, I wrote them down. I have either 7 or 8 signs. I think it's 8. 8 signs that someone is emotionally available. And I'm recording this episode for you because if you are single and looking to be in a committed relationship, I want you to listen to this episode once to see if you yourself meet all of these signs. And then if you meet these signs and you're ready to go out there and date, when you date, then I want you to be looking for these things, which is why I am going to run through them fairly quickly because I want you to be able to easily come back to this and be able to just, check yes or no to these things. And if you were in a relationship, if you were in a serious committed relationship, especially if you are married, then I think it's also great for you to go through these signs and see if you meet this criteria, if your partner meets this criteria, and if not, to have these conversations. Because even when we do the work on ourselves, we sometimes have our moments, right? We sometimes have our seasons where something is happening that makes us a little bit less available. And I think it's really important that you check in on yourself and watch out for these things, because it's so much easier to deal with something when it is a small problem, when you first notice the signs, than it is when you let something fester and become much bigger. So again, these are, I believe it is 8. Yes, it is 8 signs. Sorry, because I just jotted these down quickly before doing this episode. But it is 8 signs that you are emotionally available. So number 1 is that you can answer a question directly. Somebody asks you a question, especially if it is a question about a topic that is emotionally charged. You can answer this question directly. You don't need to talk in circles. You don't need to deflect. You don't need to defend yourself. And that question can be something like, do you believe that you have the emotional maturity to be in a relationship? Because if your response to that question is, well, yeah, I'm mature, you're the one who makes me mad, you're the one who does this, then the answer to that is probably no. You're not in this place to really be in a relationship. When you have reached a place of emotional availability, you can express yourself without having to put the blame on somebody else, without having to try to hold somebody else accountable, and without trying to hedge the things that you're saying. You can just say it and be direct. Number 2 is that you are able to use I statements. So this kind of dovetails with the first point, is being able to have a conversation with someone when you were upset and saying, hey, I feel upset. When this happens, I don't like it because, as opposed to constantly saying, you do this, you do that, you said this thing, and now I'm mad because you said this. An emotionally mature person is able to identify how they feel in the situations that make them feel that way. Now, that's not to absolve other people of blame, because sometimes you do find yourself in a relationship with a person who is toxic. But even then, there's a difference between just blaming that person and expecting them to fix things, and being able to look at it from the point of, I am upset by this situation. This is something that's not working for me. And maybe I need to leave the relationship if that's the case. Number 3, an emotionally available person can have deep conversations. So when people aren't very available, whether they just in generally aren't emotionally available or they aren't available to you, they keep conversations at a very surface level. And if you try to ask anything deep, they will deflect. They will do whatever it takes to avoid having that, or they may give you a quick answer and quickly shift back to whatever surface level. Number 4, an emotionally mature person can communicate. An emotionally mature person can tell others how they feel, what their needs are, what they want, what they're looking for in the relationship. And again, they can do this in a way that is direct. And if need be, this person can be assertive without being rude, can be assertive without being mean, but can also make your point very clear. Number 5, an emotionally mature person is ready to commit and has no problem saying that they're ready to commit. And I want to be clear about this one. If you are dating, if you're looking for a relationship and you want to be in a committed relationship, you're looking for something long term, you are looking for marriage, when you go out and date, you need to tell people that. And you also need to make it clear that just because you are ready to commit, it does not mean that you're ready to commit to them. Just because you're looking for marriage does not mean you are automatically looking to marry them. But you need to make it clear that the relationship that you want is a long-term one. And if that person can't fulfill those needs, you are ready to walk and be prepared to back that up. Number 6, an emotionally mature person, their actions will match their words. If you are dealing with a person who is incongruent, who says one thing and does another, then that's not someone you want to be in a relationship with. That is not someone who has the maturity to, remain committed, to remain faithful, to be a good partner, to potentially be a good parent if you're at that stage where you are dating and you're looking not only for marriage, but also kids. You want someone whose actions match their words. Number 7, an emotionally mature person is someone who takes action in the first place. So this is not someone who is constantly waiting for you to initiate everything, who expects you to put all the work in while they sit back. I especially had this issue in particular when I started my healing journey. I had a lot of things that happened to me in childhood that really prevented me from connecting with others when I became an adult. And when I started to do that work and to heal myself and to really make the commitment to be a better person and to be emotionally mature myself, one of the biggest stumbling blocks that I encountered was attracting people who were not healed, but who were attracted to this new light that I found, and thought that because I had healed myself, I could also do the healing work for them. And I'm just going to tell you, spoiler alert, you can't. A person only heals when they themselves are ready to put in the work. So if you have put in the work, you are committed to healing yourself and growing yourself, you need a partner who is the same way. And number 8, an emotionally mature person is someone who allows intimacy. And no, I'm not talking about sex. Yes, sex is a form of physical intimacy, but at the same time, there are people out there who can have sex with plenty of people and not necessarily be emotionally attached to that person, or not allow it to get that deep. An emotionally mature person allows intimacy. I've heard it said before, intimacy means into me, I see. And when a person allows intimacy, first of all, sex goes beyond the physical. There's a real connection there when both parties allow it. But even beyond that point, especially for those of you for whom part of your healing journey, your growth journey is being celibate, I want you to really know that, yes, you should still be searching for intimacy in a relationship. There's all kinds of intimacy that does not involve sex. There is a spiritual level of intimacy that you should be looking for. There's emotional intimacy. And also, even when it comes to physical touch, I have known people, I have coached people, throughout the years that don't have a problem with sleeping with someone, but they are averse to the idea of holding hands or kissing. a person who is emotionally mature has a healthy relationship with touch. And they also know that there's all kinds of loving touch that can happen before sex even comes into the picture. So when you're dealing with someone who has a lot of issues with the idea of being hugged, with being held, with holding hands, it's typically a sign that they are also emotionally not available to that level of intimacy. So again, these are 8 signs that a person is emotionally available. And I want to know your experiences. Let me know if you've ever been in a relationship where you realized that you weren't as emotionally available as you thought you were. Or if you've been in a relationship where you knew you had to leave because the other person wasn't emotionally available. Feel free to send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Keisha Rice, KESHIARICE. And by the way, guys, if you DM me on Instagram, like, send me a full message, because if you just send hi, I ignore those messages. I need you to have a point in your message. So your message needs to be, hi, I'd like to work with you, or hi, I enjoyed the last episode of your podcast, or hi, I have a question and here is the question. Not just hi. But beyond that, I do love and welcome your messages. So I'm at Keisha Rice on Instagram, and also I'm at Keisha Rice on TikTok and YouTube as well. So let me know what you think of this episode, and also let me know if you have more questions about what it means to be emotionally available. I will talk to you soon. Love you so much. Bye. Hey there. So you made it all the way to the end of the episode, which means I have 2 things to say. 1, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And 2, you like me. You really like me. So I would appreciate it if you would show that like by subscribing to this podcast so that more people can hear about it and enjoy it as much as you do. And if you want to know more about any of the links that I mentioned on this episode or any guests that I've had, be sure to go to KeishaRice.com/links. That's KESHIARICE.com/links. I can't wait to talk to you again in the next episode. So see you then.